Well, I've said that everything's on the table. So all options are on the table. What I'm focused on right now is saying he's got to go.
A new poll that was conducted just hours after Freeland resigned shows that 2/3 of Canadians think Justin Trudeau should also resign.
Given all of that, we've got a prime minister that's more focused on fighting his own party than fighting for Canadians. It's clear that he's got to go.
Jagmeet Singh's political future hangs by a thread after this disastrous interview. Watch as he struggles to explain his stance on Trudeau's resignation and the possibility of an early election. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. The reporter's relentless questioning exposes Singh's inconsistencies, leaving viewers wondering, is this the end of Singh's leadership? In a shocking turn of events, Jagmeet Singh dropped a bombshell that left everyone stunned. The NDP leader boldly declared that Justin Trudeau's government had to go, sending shockwaves through the political landscape. This wasn't just another day in Canadian politics. Singh's statement came at a time when the Liberal government was already on shaky ground. The timing couldn't have been more explosive. Trudeau's team was facing intense scrutiny, with whispers of cabinet shuffles and the dramatic resignation of Chrystia Freeland still fresh in everyone's minds. Singh's words hit like a thunderbolt, catching both allies and opponents off guard. But Singh wasn't alone in his call for change. The Conservatives and Bloc Québécois quickly jumped on the bandwagon, demanding an election. It was like watching dominoes fall, as opposition parties united in their desire to shake up the leadership. The implications of Singh's statement were massive. As the leader of the NDP, he held the power to potentially bring down the government with a no-confidence vote. The political world was on edge, waiting to see if Singh would follow through on his bold words.
We know that people are having a really hard time buying groceries, just the basic essentials.
Sure.
And we got people that are saying, I can't find a home, my bills are up.
Listen, you say the Prime Minister has to resign. You said, in fact, that he has to go. He's already said he's not going to do that. And he's shown that very clearly over this last few weeks, or the last few days.
Well, everything's on the table, we've said, but it's been clear, given that we've got the threats of tariffs from Trump, that puts a lot of workers in Canada saying, will I lose my job?
But here's where things get really interesting. Despite his fiery rhetoric, Singh seemed hesitant to pull the trigger on an election. This contradiction set the stage for a confrontation that would leave viewers glued to their screens. The reporter, sensing blood in the water, pounced with a question that cut straight to the heart of the matter. You say the Prime Minister has to resign. How do you explain to Canadians that while you say you want him out, that he's not good for Canada, but you won't act on that? It was the moment of truth. Singh's response would either cement his position as a strong leader or expose him as all talk and no action. The tension was palpable as the camera zoomed in on Singh's face, capturing every flicker of emotion. As Singh opened his mouth to answer, viewers couldn't help but wonder, would he stand firm on his convictions, or would his words come back to haunt him? The stage was set for a political showdown that would leave no one unscathed. Singh talked tough, but his actions told a different story. As the interview unfolded, a glaring contradiction came to light. Could the man calling for Trudeau's resignation be more concerned about his own financial future than the fate of the nation? The NDP leader found himself in a powerful position. With the current minority government, Singh held the key to triggering a no-confidence vote that could bring down Trudeau's administration and force an early election. But despite his fiery rhetoric about Trudeau needing to go, Singh seemed oddly reluctant to pull the trigger. This stark contrast between Singh's words and actions left many scratching their heads. On one hand, he boldly declared, "Everything's on the table, but what I'm focused on right now is saying he's got to go." Yet in the same breath, he hesitated to take decisive action that could make his demands a reality. So, what's really going on here? Singh's cautious approach raised eyebrows and sparked intense speculation. Some saw it as a clever political strategy, positioning the NDP for the long game. Others questioned whether Singh truly believed in the urgency of his own calls for change. But the most explosive accusation came from Singh's critics. They pointed to a much more personal motive: his parliamentary pension. These critics suggested that Singh's reluctance to force an immediate election stemmed from a desire to secure his own financial future, rather than serve the immediate needs of Canadians. Adding fuel to the fire, Singh's own words during the interview seemed to contradict his urgent calls for Trudeau's resignation. He casually stated, "There's going to be an election this year, 2025. This long-term view left many wondering, was Singh really committed to holding Trudeau accountable, or was he just playing political theater? As the dust settled, the public's reaction to Singh's stance began to emerge. Many Canadians who had rallied behind his calls for change now found themselves questioning his leadership and commitment to action. The disconnect between Singh's strong words and weak follow-through left a bitter taste in the mouths of those hoping for real political accountability. With Singh's credibility on the line and public opinion shifting, the stage was set for an even more intense confrontation. How would the NDP leader explain his apparent flip-flopping to an increasingly skeptical audience? While politicians played their games, the Canadian people were reaching a boiling point. A recent poll uncovered an unprecedented level of frustration with the current government. The results were so explosive, they threatened to upend the entire political chessboard overnight. But would anyone in power actually listen? The poll, conducted right after Freeland's shocking resignation, revealed a nation hungry for change. Canadians from coast to coast were surveyed, capturing the raw pulse of public opinion in the wake of recent political turmoil. The timing couldn't have been more perfect to gauge the true temperature of voter sentiment. What the poll uncovered was nothing short of a political earthquake. An overwhelming majority of Canadians, a staggering 62%, declared it was time for Trudeau to step down. This wasn't just a minor dip in approval ratings. It was a full-blown rejection of the current leadership that sent shockwaves through Ottawa. But here's where things get really interesting. Remember Singh's reluctance to force an election? Well, the Canadian people had a very different idea. A whopping 53% of those polled said they wanted an election right now. Not next year, not in a few months, right now. The most shocking part? This wasn't just coming from one angry group. Young and old, east and west, Canadians across the board were united in their call for change. It didn't matter if you were a student in Vancouver or a retiree in Nova Scotia. The message was loud and clear. Trudeau's time was up. Political experts were left scrambling to make sense of these explosive numbers. One analyst put it bluntly, "We're seeing a level of dissatisfaction that could reshape the entire political landscape overnight. If the government doesn't address this quickly, we could be looking at a major upheaval in Canadian politics." So where does this leave Singh and the NDP? Caught between their fiery rhetoric and cautious actions, they now face a public that's way ahead of them in demanding real change. The disconnect between voter sentiment and political maneuvering has never been more obvious. As the pressure builds, one thing is certain. Ignoring the will of the people is a dangerous game that no politician can afford to play for long. Just as Canadians were crying out for bold leadership, Jagmeet Singh faced off against a relentless reporter. It was supposed to be a moment for Singh to shine. But as the cameras rolled, something unexpected happened. The confident politician began to unravel, and what followed was nothing short of a political train wreck. Singh started the interview with his usual self-assured demeanor. He had his talking points ready, determined to stick to his message about Trudeau's failings. But the reporter wasn't about to let him off easy. As the questions got tougher, Singh's composure started to crack. The turning point came when the reporter hit him with a zinger. "If you have the power to make that happen for Canadians, and you're acting in the best interest of Canadians, isn't that what they actually want?" Singh's evasive answer spoke volumes. He stammered, "I'm not going to speculate on when it's going to happen," revealing his discomfort with the tough questioning. As the interview progressed, Singh's body language told the real story. His once confident posture gave way to defensive gestures. He shifted in his seat, avoided eye contact, and struggled to find coherent answers. It was painful to watch, as the leader known for his charisma floundered under pressure. But the worst was yet to come. In a devastating blow, the reporter called out Singh's true motivations, suggesting, "The only thing on Jagmeet's table is his pension." This accusation seemed to strike a nerve, leaving Singh visibly rattled. It highlighted the growing perception that Singh cared more about his political future than the needs of everyday Canadians. The final nail in the coffin came with the reporter's mocking parting shot. Even grade 11 civics classes know that there's going to be an election. This stinging comment left Singh looking completely out of his depth, exposed as a leader unable to back up his bold claims with real action. As the dust settles on this disastrous interview, the consequences for Singh and the NDP could be severe. Political analysts are already questioning his ability to lead effectively. With his credibility in tatters, Singh now faces an uphill battle to regain the trust of voters and maintain control of his party. The question on everyone's mind: can Singh recover from this embarrassing fumble, or is this the beginning of the end for his political career? Jagmeet Singh's political future hangs by a thread after this disastrous interview. His bold claims about Trudeau's resignation crumbled under intense questioning, leaving him exposed and scrambling for answers. The reporter's relentless pursuit of clarity revealed Singh's inability to back up his words with action, culminating in that devastating accusation about his pension. This embarrassing fumble could have far-reaching consequences for the NDP. Singh's credibility has taken a massive hit, and voters might start questioning his leadership abilities. The party now faces an uphill battle to regain trust and stay relevant in Canadian politics. Will they double down on their current strategy or completely overhaul their approach? As the dust settles on this political train wreck, one question looms large. Is Canadian politics ready for real change, or are we doomed to more empty promises and cautious maneuvering?